Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Money in the Morning, aka Economic Elevation, aka Financial Consciousness. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I hope everybody's feeling good today. On this Saturday morning, today is Saturday, May 9th, 2026, and I hope that you're feeling good. I know I am. I had to peel myself out of bed last night. We had our financial slumber party, and it was kind of wild. It was crazy. There were flying monkeys and drunk people, and somebody got punched, and the hangover is heavy. We have a financial hangover, but we learned a lot last night. It was a lot of fun. And the thing that happened last night was we talked about debt. We didn't just listen to music and stuff like that. That was cool. There was Michael Jackson showed up along with we were gonna bring in Frankie Beverly and Mays, but they couldn't make it. We brought in New Edition and stuff like that, but we also learned about debt. And and one of the things that we learned about debt was different ways to get out of debt. Starting with things like the avalanche method and the snowball method, and different ways to understand and to know the difference between good debt and bad debt, and how to use debt to make money. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people think debt is something that you just use to buy stuff, and that's not true. Debt is there's an epidemic in debt in America, by the way. There's right now America has kind of OD'd on debt. And debt levels are at an all-time high, student loan debt, credit card debt, mortgage loan debt, etc. And what's fascinating to me about that is that people don't realize that actually debt is one of the reasons why billionaires become billionaires. It'd be hard for them to become billionaires without debt, right? And so you say, well, if debt makes people rich, then why is debt a problem? Well, it's because it's just like debt is like food. If you eat a lot of the wrong food, then you will get sick and die. But if you eat a lot of the right food, then you will be healthier than ever, right? So the question is, are you eating the right financial food, or are you eating unhealthy financial food, right? A big bowl of Cheetos ain't the same as a big bowl of fruit and vegetables, right? So ultimately, when you think about your finances, I think it's really important to make sure you know the difference between the two, right? And that's what we covered last night. So if you guys want to see the recording, I'll text out the recording for you later. Make sure you're on the text list for this class. Text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. I will send you the recording of last night's financial slumber party, and I guarantee you will learn. And Dr. Alicia was there too. And Dr. Alicia is the head of our Black Financial Therapy Department. We created the first ever Black Financial Therapy Department because we found that for whatever reason, the reason black wealth hasn't improved largely is because researchers haven't studied it. We were going through the academic literature. Before you write a research paper, you go through the literature, and because you're trying to expand the frontier of human knowledge in that field, you have to find out what everybody else has already done, so you don't just sort of replicate what somebody else has done, right? That's what scholars are supposed to do. My wife, she has a legitimate PhD, that required her to learn how to do original academic research. And one of the things she came to me one day and she said, "Boyce, I couldn't believe it." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "There's been no research done on black wealth, like why black families struggle financially, like why black wealth has been going down, like what's been going on with that." And so the thing about it, the thing you have to understand is that attention is a form of wealth. Attention is a commodity, and that which you pay no attention to, I want you to let me slow down for a minute because I want you to think about this. The things you don't pay attention to, do they tend to do better, or do they do worse, right? Do they improve, or do they worsen up? And what happens if you don't pay attention to your weight? Well, you're gonna get fat. What happens if you don't pay attention to your kids? Are they gonna typically be healthier and better off, or are you gonna have some kids out here gang banging and Cardi being at the club, and your daughter's on the stripper pole because you never paid attention to your daughter, right? Things you don't pay attention to don't do well. Now here's the thing. What do you pay attention to? You pay attention to social media. Black people are actually more invested in attention-wise in social media than any other group. Social media companies are making more money than ever. This past week, the stock market went berserk. The stock market's been going crazy. The last 6 weeks, the stock market has been hitting highs that have baffled the financial scientists. We're sitting here going, "Oh my God, when is this thing going to stop? What is happening here? When are they going to stop making rich people richer? Because they just love making rich people richer. This is insane. Corporate profits are just through the roof." So the things you pay attention to grow. What else do you pay attention to? Well, you pay attention to your job. A lot of you, may have gotten lucky enough to get a black job, right? Which is a job held by a black person. So anything can technically be a black job. And so the companies you work for are doing very well because you pay attention to them. You're very disciplined. You show up every morning at 9 a.m. You give them 8 hours of energy every day without fail. No excuses, right? You don't get distracted. So you pay attention to that. You pay attention to media. Media is doing very well. You pay attention to spending, consumer items, right? Going to the mall, buying stuff, popping bottles, whatever people do. That also is doing very well because we pay attention to those things. Well, let's circle back. When my wife was doing research on black family wealth and things like black financial psychology in particular, she was literally saying, well, have scholars paid any attention to black wealth and why it's going down? I mean, everybody acts like that's something that they care about. The politicians claim to care about it. Have any politicians commissioned, have they put $1 billion into research as to why black wealth is not going up? What have they done? They've done nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. And what I want you to understand is that the thing that makes me furious about this problem, the thing that keeps me up at night, the thing that makes me want to kick the wall and punch the air, is I say, well, how in the hell you think you're going to solve a problem when you ain't paying no attention to really trying to solve it? You're not putting the best and brightest on it. Whenever going all the way back, even before Obama, whenever they would get together and talk about black economics at the White House, they would always maybe they bring in Al Sharpton, and they maybe they'd sit and say, well, black people need more jobs, and if more black people would simply work for white people and get opportunities given by white people, then they'd be better off, and we're never better off. Things never get better. Well, it's not better because you're not paying attention to the problem. You're not getting the right people. The White House is right down the street from Dr. Claude Anderson. Back when Obama got elected, they could have called up Dr. Anderson. He would have gladly taken that 2 minute drive down to the White House, maybe a 15-minute drive, and got been to his house several times. He lives right near the White House. He would have gladly shown up and said, "Here's how you solve the black economic problem." They could have called Dr. Julianne Malveaux, who spends a lot of time in DC. I think she lived there for a long time. She has a PhD in economics from MIT. She would have sat down and said, okay, here's how you solve the black economic problem. But they didn't invite those people. They would bring in Al Sharpton, who at the time he had a nice, delicious, nice greasy perm. So I'm thinking he could probably help you figure out how to do your hair, but I don't know if he can necessarily help you figure out how to do what PhDs in finance and economics do. And I'm talking about real PhDs, not people that just get on the internet and call themselves doctor. I've seen those people too. I don't say much, but it's just like, well, if you really know your field, then people can tell. But it's kind of hilarious how many people out here are doctor this and doctor that. And I can tell you, a real doctorate requires 4 or 5 years of consistent effort and just damn near torture where you're studying 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sometimes for me it was including Christmas. I was studying on Christmas, and and I still didn't know if I was going to actually get through because it was that difficult. My dissertation committee kicked my ass because they don't give real PhDs to people unless they really truly earn it. That's why not one single black person on the planet was able to get a PhD in finance that year. And so, anyway, with that being said, I think it's really important that we do acknowledge the professionals, those of you out there that did put in the work. I pay attention to the difference. When you get online and you tell me what you know, I look at your credentials. I say, where did you go to school? What did you study? How well do you know this field? Have you been certified in this field? The other thing too is China. Did anybody see this? In China, they actually are passing a law that says if you are not credentialed in a field, you cannot get on the internet and talk about it. You cannot get on the internet and talk about health and things that are going to affect people's lives if you haven't got official credentials in that field. I think that's really interesting. Another thing China's doing that I think is really healthy is they're actually passed that. I think I got to double check this, but I saw something where they claim that they passed a law that says you can't get online and show off your wealth. Like if you're a rich celebrity, you can't go and distract the public by showing everybody that you're a 24-year-old with a Lamborghini, because what that's going to do is that's going to distract that 24-year-old engineering student who has to work hard to get his, and it's not going to make him what happens is a lot of times you'll see these poor kids, they'll get in there and they'll be thinking, okay, I must be a sucker. I'm actually going to school and working hard to have a future. I must be a complete sucker because this guy is 23 years old and he's already got a mansion. Well, you don't know how he got that mansion. Maybe he got lucky and got a bunch of followers and somehow that turned into money. Or maybe he's dealing drugs like that. This is what that you've had actually influencers get arrested for being drug dealers. And then you're like, oh, that's why he was on Instagram with a stack of cash next to him when you sell a little crack, your bank account's going to be full for a while, right? Before you get that 50-year prison sentence, right? So ultimately, when you look at consumer behavior and spending, what you find is that there's a deep connection and correlation between culture and economic outcomes. There's an undeniable, very powerful connection between mindset and your financial situation. There is completely, without a doubt, 100% a direct relationship between how you think and how you turn out financially. Don't you ever let anybody tell you any different, because this is what all the research shows. So Dr. Alicia was there last night, and she's a licensed therapist. You can look all her. This is another thing too. If you want to know if somebody has credentials, if they wrote a dissertation, it's available. It should be in the Library of Congress. You can go find my dissertation and read it. I can't tell you the title. It was a long time ago. It was a wild time, but but I had to write the damn thing. It's out there. You can go find it. Right. So anybody where you can't find their credentials, you can't find out what degree they got, you can't go publicly find out what they wrote their dissertation on or what academic journals they published in. That right there is a massive red flag. Shit, you ain't got to search for my PhD at Ohio State. It's out there, right? Google it, chat GPT it, you'll find it. All right. So with that said, if you want to know what Dr. Alicia has found in her research, and she actually gave you all a survey that you filled out, and she used that for her data analysis. She found that for the Black community, there is a massive. Kendall has a copy of I know you got a copy of my dissertation, Kendall, because Kendall came to me and did you bring me my whole dissertation? Which that was. Don't do that no more, man, because that traumatized me a little bit. You don't know that was hard. That was so hard. It was 150 pages of math. It's so intimidating. It's like, yeah, you got to write 150 pages of math. They're going to scrutinize every little thing, and if you don't do it right, they're going to kick you out. PhD programs are brutal. They'll boot you out. Northwestern University, actually, one time, Northwestern, just to give you a frame of reference here, I applied to NYU. That was one of the schools I tried to get into. NYU had 400 applicants. They were going to accept eight people. Eight people out of 400. I was ranked number 9 on the list. I wanted to go to NYU really badly, and the secretary said, "Oh, well, you're number 9 on the list, so you're probably going to get in because someone's probably going to choose Harvard or Stanford or something, and then they won't come here." And she said this was the first time ever that all 8 people chose to come here. Right? It was that So I didn't get into NYU. I did get into Columbia. I think at 27, I was scared to move to New York with no money. The idea of living in New York City and being broke was very intimidating for me. And that's an example why you shouldn't let fear stop you from making decisions. I let my fear kind of get to me, and I wanted to be more prudent, so I did something different. Anyway, so I did get into Columbia. I finished at Ohio State, but here's the thing. So Northwestern University, which is another one of those schools that's super hard to get into, because finance professors make the most money. It's still true to this day. It was true 25 years ago when I got my doctorate. It's true now. So everybody wants to go into finance. It attracts the best and the brightest. Like you'll have students in your class from China who already have a PhD in physics. I kid you not. I remember students in my class who already had a PhD who said, "I'm gonna get another one because this field pays more money." It was that wild. So anyway, Northwestern University had a whole class of students of like 8 really elite students. You had to be super smart to get into Northwestern. It's one of the top 10 programs. And the faculty, they had them all. You have to take this exam called the comprehensive exam after about your second or third year. And it's super hard. You don't know what's going to be on it. It's very ambiguous and it's also very political. If they don't like you, they pretty much can just eliminate you just because. Like it doesn't matter if you're a genius, your IQ can be through the roof, you can work your butt off. And if they just don't like you, if somebody just says, "I want him out of here," you're gonna fail. That's the part. That was the part that was really hard because I thought everything was a meritocracy. I thought well, if you work hard and you do your best, everything's gonna be fine. No, if somebody don't like you, they will literally wipe. They're like the faculty are like they're like gods. They can just literally snap their finger to make you disappear. So that's one of many things that stresses you out. The other thing that happened was so the Northwestern students, remember, mind you, these are the elite of the elite. These are the best students out here. They all take the comprehensive exam, right? Now, the comprehensive exam is crazy because if you fail, you leave. If you fail, there's no like, oh, well, you failed the test, you're gonna be okay. No, you're out of the program. They put you out. If you fail, it doesn't matter if you've been there 5 years. You dedicated 5 years of your life. It's like, no, you got to go. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here, right? They're like, we don't owe you a PhD. If you don't like it here, you can't sue us because there's no recourse for you. You just go, get your ass up out of here, right? So it's very stressful. So all eight of these students took this comprehensive exam, right? Elite Northwestern University students. And you know what the faculty decided? They said, we don't believe that any of these students are qualified to get a PhD from Northwestern. You know, they had all different kinds of students. They had Asian students, white students, Russian students. They said none of these students are good enough. So you know what they did? They literally failed every single student that took the test. They wiped the whole slate, the whole earth clean. They said, all y'all got to go, and we're gonna start over again because y'all just don't meet the standard. That's how brutal it can be. That's an example of just the kind of brutal traumatizing stuff that you would see in like a really heavy duty PhD program. There are some that are lighter weight that are not as difficult, not as stressful. But if you do the elite stuff, it's really hard. So you got to make sure whatever you do, make sure you really want to do it because if you don't want to do it, you're not going to make it. You have to just kind of say, I'll either like what got me through was I remember saying I'm either going to do this or I'm going to die first. I get rich or die trying. That was my version of get rich or die trying because I was like 50 Cent. I got shot 9 times academically, right? Like I have bullet holes out, a bullet in my eye, a bullet in my nostril, a bullet in my neck, a bullet in my chest. I said, I ain't going, I ain't quitting. No, 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 no way. I'm living without you. I'm staying. I don't want to be. So I was committed. I just said, I'm just, whatever it takes. If I got to be up in here for 80 years, I'm going to do it. And that's how and that's what that was beautiful, actually. It was stressful and terrible. And I'm gonna get back. I want to get back to the economics because this actually helps you. This when you go through those terrible experiences. Like, how many of you feel like you've gone through a terrible experience where you hit rock bottom? Anybody? Give me a yes if you've ever, if you really feel like you know, or you have your own version of rock bottom. Like you think of a moment that was like the darkest time, the hardest time, where you just were like, I don't know how I'm gonna make it. Like this is just too much, right? Anybody go through that? Okay, so if you and I want you to think about that time. I want you to think about that time when you hit rock bottom. And I want you to really think about what a blessing that was, right? I want you to really think about what a blessing it was to hit rock bottom because the blessing of rock bottom is you really find out what you're made of. Right? The blessing of rock bottom is when you find a gear that you didn't even know was there. You're like, man, I didn't know I could lift the car up until my baby was stuck under the tire. You know what I mean? Like you just, and that's the beauty of growth. That's what the universe, that's the gift that the universe gives you is to say, no, 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 you think you've done your best. You haven't done your best. Like Navy SEALs are awesome because Navy SEALs understand psychologically. They know that when you think you've done everything you can, you've literally only done like 40% of the maximum of what you could actually do. But you have to go into a dark, traumatized place in order to really get that extra little bit. That's why growth can be so painful. But the greatest growth, the greatest rewards come on the other side of the darkest, most challenging experiences, right? So to some extent, if you become conscious and you sort of process it the right way, you start to try you can get to the point where you can kind of embrace the darkness a little bit. It's hard to do, right? Because who wants to go through hell? That ain't fun. But the beauty of hell is like there's a heaven on the other side. So the beauty of my hell was I found out who I really was. I found out what I was made of. I found out how far I was willing to go, and I realized I ain't quitting. I ain't quitting. You know, and when I really truly internally realized I was never going to quit, I knew I was going to win because my obstacle was eventually going to get tired. Right? Whatever's on the other side, whatever the obstacle is eventually going to go away. Things are going to lighten up. Things are going to get easier. And so if you just really truly are really about it, so the Master P language, if you're really committed to it and you just like, I'm just not stopping, then eventually things will change. The obstacle will dissolve and you're going to work your way through whatever you're working your way through. And that was something that I carried through life and career. That's one of the reasons why I don't know how many of you if you ever have you ever noticed how crazy I am? Anybody ever notice how crazy, how consistent I am about what I do and how like relentlessly, like ridiculously over the top like I am like I say stuff that's like people are like, wow, I didn't, I can't believe he said that or whoa, he did a 2000 2,847 videos this year, right? Like I've probably done literally, I think I counted on YouTube. I've probably done 33,000 videos about black wealth on YouTube over the last 20, 25 years. That relentlessness literally came from hitting the dark place. It came from the fact that I just kind of know. Like, so this is why I probably, this is why my conversation on the competition, the financial, the economic competition is a little bit different. I don't believe that we're supposed to lose to anybody. I don't believe that the white folks have some magical fairy dust up their ass that says that we can't ever compete. I don't believe that when people say black people are meant to be secondary and behind and last. I don't like victim talk. I don't do that. I don't like the whole give up and like I got the victim mentality. The old Lordy B. All they just going, they done did it to us again, y'all. I can't do the slave talk because I don't want to be a slave. I really believe, like, if you really show up and you are really 100% on your game in terms of not being perfect, but a relentless commitment to improvement every single day of your life, you cannot be stopped. You cannot lose. You're gonna get something. You ain't gonna get, you're rarely gonna get exactly what you want, right? So it's not a fairy tale, but you're gonna get something. Right? Like, oh, I'm leaving here with something. Right. So literally that consistency, that kind of relentlessness, that sort of persistence, like never giving up, I'm never going to stop. That is actually, in the research, they find that that is the number one ingredient of good entrepreneurs, actually. The best entrepreneurs, according to the research, are not the people that just took the classes. It's not the people that were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. It's not the people that have white privilege. There's a lot of broke white people out here. A lot of white people struggling on drugs, in jail, all kinds of stuff. No, it ain't got nothing to do with that. It's like relentlessness. Are you really truly about it when it comes to what you're trying to do? Like, are you in? Or if you're in, then you're gonna win. If you are in it, you know, when you say, "Hey, I want to be free and black," I'm gonna have a legacy no matter what. I'm gonna have a strong family no matter what. I'm gonna get better no matter what. I'm gonna make my marriage work no matter what. Then what you'll do is you will do everything. You'll flip over every rock. You'll read every book. You'll talk to every person. You'll make adjustments. You'll do whatever is required for you to become the person you need to be in order to get what you got to get done. And where people end up not making it, in my opinion, is they don't have that relentlessness because they think it's all about what you learned in school and who, you know, who your friends are and whether you're white or black and just all these things that I don't think really make a difference at the end of the day. It's that relentlessness. So learn how to be relentlessness, and hopefully you'll be blessed with an opportunity to truly hit rock bottom. And that's when the superhero in you will emerge. I remember the day that Dr. Boyce Watkins was actually born. He was born in the fall of 1998, in the worst time of my life, 27 years old. My whole life had fallen apart. Everything that mattered to me had fallen apart. I've talked about it before, so I'm not going to go into it again because I don't want to read, I don't want to think about that this morning. But literally, when everything fell apart, and I'm like, damn, I have nothing right now. Right? It's like, okay, what you gonna do now? And so when you go through that, it does sort of create something where you're like, okay, well, all right, well, I ain't got nothing to lose now. And when you have nothing to lose, that's when that's when you build into something different and better. If you watch a Marvel comic and read the comics, every superhero has a horrible origin story. Every superhero became great because something happened. They got caught in the particle accelerator and got disintegrated into a billion pieces, or his whole family got murdered in front of him, or just, you know, just something terrible that happened. And then the hero came out of that, right? So find your inner superhero. Like, don't sit around mad that you're going through tough things. Nothing really. If you really have the right conscience, in my opinion, there's not much that really happens to you that isn't also happening for you. It's just a matter of knowing how to reframe and contextualize it and figure out, like, okay, where's the reward here? I don't went through the hell. Where's the heaven? Where's the gold buried underneath all the crap? Do you understand? If you do that, then I guarantee you'll have better outcomes. Right? It's even in money and everything else. Money, love, all the things that matter. Money is important, but money is only one type of wealth. That's the smallest kind of wealth. The other forms of wealth come in the form of health and relationships and things like that, and freedom and all that good stuff. All right. Now, one thing I want to mention, I want to reiterate, don't forget this summer, we are hiring experts in the Black Business School that are going to teach kids in private Zooms starting early June. I believe June 7th is the launch date. I want to let you know so that if you're thinking about activities for your kids this summer, I think, you know, if we're sending our kids to football camp, we should be sending them to money camp. If we're sending our kids to basketball camp, they should be doing investing camp, right? So because that's the big game. That's the game you're getting ready for. That's where they're going to win their championships. And so we got some experts in. So if you are a person that, you know, they got the financial flashcards, we're going to have experts go through the flashcards with the kids, go through the concepts. If you have the workbooks, and so I know a lot of you do, then we have experts that will help you go through it. That way, you don't have to do it yourself. We can do it for you. There will be a fee. It won't be much. It'll be fair. We took took a survey, we found out what you wanted, and that's going to launch soon. Monique and Amber and Amani are running that program, and they're all wonderful, loving moms that are going to make sure that your kids are taken care of. So they're not going to just get educated on the material; they're going to also be loved. And this is an important ingredient. People underestimate the importance of love in the educational process. And this was my bias because when I was going through school, it wasn't that the work was hard. I could probably do the work. It was really I felt unloved. I going to school every day felt like going to the penitentiary. It didn't feel like I was in a place where somebody cared about me or wanted me to do well. Because what I found when I look back on my life was that when I was in spaces where somebody cared about me and wanted me to do well, I always thrived. My abilities, or maybe who knows, maybe there was a little genius in there. I don't know. It would just kind of come out, and it would always surprise people. I used to have terrible grades, by the way. My grades were so bad. So don't give up on your sons. They have bad grades. They're probably just good at something other than sitting still, shutting up, and doing what the teacher says. They might need a little freedom. Maybe they need to be exposed to something financial. Most little boys, especially, like money. When you show them how to make money, they'll get excited about that because it's competitive, right? Little girls love money as well. Money is a form of security. It's freedom, right? And so what had happened was I had those bad grades because I didn't see the purpose of going to school. I didn't know what my future looked like. I didn't feel like anybody cared about me. But when somebody did show that they cared, like it might be something as basic. Like I still remember when I was 7, and this little white lady named Miss Kim. She was 22, but she probably seemed like an old lady to me because I was a little boy. She would sit with me and help me with my homework. I never forgot that. Yeah, I remember she would sit there with me and she would just kind of just give me love and support and cheer me on when I did well. And I performed for that lady. When that lady showed me love, it just filled me up with like a type of warmth where I was like, okay, I want to do well for this lady, right? And so really, I think that what's missing in public schools and education in general is love. That's why, I think that's part of the reason why 70% of black kids can't read at grade level. I mean, it's not just the school, it's not just the teachers. I'm not blaming anybody. It takes a village to destroy a child, right? It takes a coordinated effort to make sure that the kid can never learn any of the basic skills they need. So you make sure they suffer in adulthood. We want to make absolutely sure that they can't go find a nickel when they need one, that they can't feed their children, that they have to go and break the law in order to get money, right? Or slide down the stripper pole and all these other things, right? Like so don't think I'm blaming anybody. I'm actually blaming everybody. I'm blaming all of us because it's insanity to me when you spend that much money on education. The U.S. price has a bigger education budget than any country on the freaking planet. And how is it that 70% of black kids can't read at grade level? What's happening here? Give me some of that money. Throw us $1 billion, and I guarantee you that every single child is going to be at the top of their game. In fact, now that I think about it, Marcus Klein, I gotta remember to invite Marcus Klein, who runs the Freedom Home Academy International in Chicago. I love to say his name because I just love this guy. I know he's coming to one event that we're having, but I'm gonna try to get him to come to the convention because Marcus, like some of you in here, he actually has unlocked the formula for educating black kids at a high level on a really small budget. We made a donation to Marcus's school. We ain't ball we ain't been balling like that. We do what we can. 5,000 here, 10,000 there. We've donated to a lot of places like we gave to King Randall School. We're supporting LeVar Scott, the NASCAR driver. We donated to Marcus's school, Freedom Home Academy, and it was like $5,000. And I asked Marcus, I said, so what'd you do with the money? Not that I care, I'm just curious. And he said, I'm going to open another school. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, we're going to open another school. I said, how you going to open a school with $5,000? Like, don't make sense. Because Umar said it takes $10 billion to open a school in 30 years. Right? I'm playing. I'm being silly. But really, I'm like, wait, 5,000. And so what Marcus shows me is so first of all, I went to visit the school and I took my cousin Tippy and Tippy was so impressed that he was like, I want to make a donation. Like those children were 7, 9, 8, 9 years old, and they were reciting stuff that college students can't do. And it was just beautiful to watch. It's like, wow, look at that excellent black children. This is so much fun to watch. And we gotta make more of those. And so really to me, what that showed is that's a reminder that you got to stop thinking that wealth is all about just how much cash you have, or that somehow it takes a bunch of money to solve this problem. Clearly, money is not the solution to the black educational problem, because if money was the solution, then we would have solved that problem a long time ago. You spend more money than any school on earth or any educational system on earth, so it clearly is not the money. So it's got to be something else. What else is it? Maybe it's the culture, maybe it's the environment, maybe it's the incentives, maybe it's the structure. I don't know exactly, but I know Marcus Klein, by bringing together these excellent educators that they have at Freedom Home Academy International, has figured out the formula because they have, and they are one of the wealthiest institutions on the planet. They just may not have money, but they're wealthy because they have a big fat bowl of black excellence that's worth a couple billion. They've got a lot of black love. Black love is worth another billion. All right, they've got people paying attention to the children, paying attention to the issue that really want to solve the problem. Well, that's valuable, right? You're not just sort of having a teachers union that's like making money by counting the number of black heads of kids that come to school every day so they can get money from the government. No, you've got people that are looking at a child and saying that baby can't read. We got to fix that. What is it going to take to make that happen, right? So you can create wealth just by how you do something, just by how much passion you put into it, how committed you are to actually solving the problem. That is a form of wealth. The black family is a massive multi-billion, multi-trillion dollar entity that was destroyed and taken away from you. When they destroyed families, they took away a lot of black wealth. And so I want you to really start seeing those other forms of wealth and stop thinking that it's all about somebody in the government writing some type of check. I wish they would write more checks, but they don't sometimes. You've got a lot of resources you can work with that will get the job done. All right, so Marcus Klein, I just wrote his name down because I got to invite him to speak at the convention either this year or next year. He's very busy, but I hope he can make it. And then also I'll let you guys know when we start educating the kids. If you're not on the text list for the class, get on the text list and I'll send you the link if you want to sign your child up. Make sure you text the word morning to the phone number 87948. So text morning to 87948. You'll get an invitation to Money in the Morning. You can get a recording of the financial slumber party we did last night. You can also bring your child to our educational programs for this summer. We're going to teach them basic finance. That's what we're going to start with, and then after that's done, we'll do a survey to see how you feel and what we can make better, and then we'll go into specialized topics. So if your child wants to be an expert on stock market investing, we got you. I wrote my dissertation on the stock market. If they want to be an expert on real estate, we got you. We got the Constance Carters and some of the best real estate people. Dr. Jennifer Gormer, who's done $1 billion in real estate transactions. Yeah, Dr. Jennifer Gormer is a badass. Ashley, I'd brother named Ashley something. I can't remember his last name. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad with names. But Ashley Thomas, the president of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. He and I have become friends, so we're now super friends because Ashley Thomas runs the largest and oldest black real estate organization in the country. So he's connected to what we're doing. So we got the best and the brightest. And what I like about individuals like that is they understand, yeah, the knowledge is important, taking the classes and all that matters. But what really matters is getting the result. And what I want your kids to know how to do is how to get the result, right? They say, I want to be a millionaire. Okay, easy. Let's make that happen, right? They say, oh, I want to be powerful. Okay, we can help you with that. Or I want to provide for my family, or I want to create jobs. Let's figure out how to make that happen instead of sitting back and wishing and hoping and praying. And this is the danger of having an excessive commitment to the job culture. Because most people that have a job don't know how to really create a job. Right? I'm not judging anybody that has a job because a lot of you have jobs, and I respect that immensely. And I am 100% in favor of whatever you want to do that works for you. So please do not take this as an insult. It's not an insult. But think about this: when you get a job, sometimes we don't even know where it came from. We don't know what happened in the meeting where people decided how to create the job in the first place. Or or if you get a seat at the table, we don't think about the origin story. Like, where did this table come from? Who built the damn thing? Like, what's this table made out of? Is this oak? Right? Like, where who moved the table into the room? Who went and bought the? How do you get tables anyway? You use wood and you go chop down a tree and you got to go and shine it. Like, these are. If you have those conversations, then if somebody doesn't give you a seat at the table, you say that's okay. I'm gonna go build one. We're gonna go raise our money, go build a table because we're not trying to access tables. We're manufacturing tables. We're not the consumer of something that someone else produced. We're the producer of something that someone else is going to consume. Do you understand? We're not the plug that gets access to the source. We are the source, and the plugs come to us. Do you understand? Like there's an origin story to economics. There's an origin story to power. And I don't know if we get exposed to the origin story because we were so busy trying to figure out how to integrate into something where someone else controlled the origin story, right? When they're in the back and they're cooking up all that wealth in the back, They're like, don't you worry about that. You stay out here. Don't you worry your pretty little head about what's going on back here. This is where the grown folks are talking. We're going to go create $1 trillion of wealth for our community, and then we'll sprinkle a little something, something on you. We'll give you a little job or something, just enough for you to get by because we need you to help us get richer. Right? No, no, no. I want to know what's in the back. I want to know how you're the man. Okay, I want to know how the man became the man. Who decided who the man's going to be? How did the man become? I don't want to get into the NFL. I want to know where did the NFL come from? Who created it? Like, what was the original charter? What did that look like? Right? And when you dig in and you go deep into the mystery of where your economic outcomes come from, you find these fascinating stories. Oh, the NFL was started with a bunch of people who pulled together $200, right? And they created these franchises that nobody wanted. They named one of them the New York Giants. One of them was called the Green Bay Packers. What the hell is a Green Bay Packer? Nobody knew. Nobody cared. Nobody wanted that thing, right? And they saw this thing and they gave it wealth, and they gave it wealth by giving it attention. Just like you raise a newborn baby by giving the baby attention. You raise the baby. It might be a little tiny baby, a weak baby, an ugly baby, but it's your baby and you love it and you feed it and you do the best you can to make sure the baby lives. There's no guarantees, but you know that you maximize the probability the baby is going to survive by making sure that you're there every day, giving the baby attention and protection and food. That you know these, right? So this is what a business is. A business is a little ugly baby. Some of y'all got a little ugly baby, and you nurturing that little baby, and you breastfeeding the baby, and you feeding the baby milk, and the baby's just sitting there like looking all ugly, like you got a little ugly baby, right? But you love your little ugly baby because that's all you got really. You got to feed the little ugly baby because a lot of the biggest, most beautiful businesses in America started off as little ugly babies. UPS started off with the teenagers delivering packages on their bicycle. Coca-Cola was started by a guy who was a drug addict who was looking for something that was going to be better than morphine, right? So I think he put some cocaine in it. It's like, yeah, cocaine. This stuff, this drink is great, right? And so really, so now some of you maybe have beautiful babies, but I've had ugly babies before, and then sometimes your babies don't survive. But the only chance you have that the baby's going to survive is if you commit to it and you feed it and you give it attention. Right? That's it. That's all you got. That's your best shot. There's no guarantees in this game. The thing about investing that's really important is I never want people to buy into a fairy tale ideology about investing. Because when you do that, when you buy into this false idea that, oh yeah, being an investor is always great and it's easy and you can go around the world and take cruises and live your best life and you never lose money, that's not how it works. It's hard. like being a parent. When people aren't parents and they see parents, sometimes they'll just see like these pretty family pictures and everybody's smiling and everybody looks happy and you see these daddy daughter moments. You're like, oh, I wish I had some of that. But but they don't show you how hard that really is. They don't show you when the teenager hates their parents. Like, you and there's all this drama and there's divorce and there's mess and everything else or maybe that beautiful family portrait. Everybody, my family has a family portrait that is epic in our family. Like we can't replicate it because I was 14 years old and I remember how horrible that day was. I remember how bad I felt that day, how much tension there was before the picture was taken. And if you were to look at that picture, you would really think that our family was wonderful and everybody's happy and everything's good. You don't see the background. You don't see the fact that my father probably for much of his life was trying to fight to not go back to a drug addiction, but he was choosing to be a dad, choosing to be a husband, and he didn't go back. He drank a lot, but he didn't go back to the drugs. They didn't show you where my mother was dealing with a lot of depression and a lot of sadness in her life because of what she went through as a little girl. They didn't do therapy in the 70s and the 80s like they do talk about it now. And so she was having a hard time. They didn't show you how difficult things were for me as a little pimply 14-year-old teenager and how sad I was, right? So you don't see those things. You just see the surface. And I think it's one great way to educate yourself about anything you want to do is you got to go behind the curtain and find out the real sacrifice required to get the beautiful life that you want. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, I need you to really sort of really look into the greatest challenges entrepreneurs go through. Find out maybe the top 3 or 4 reasons why entrepreneurs fail. The biggest mistakes that are made, the biggest challenges, the adversity they had to fight through, and that same thing is true with marriage. Think about it. I want you to think about it. Think about how many people want to get married because they saw beautiful pictures on Instagram, and they want to be able to have this big, beautiful ceremony where they go deep in debt. And everybody looks gorgeous and amazing, and they're happily married. Like Tiana Taylor got married to this guy named Iman Shumpert. Iman is 6'7", worth $100 million. Tiana, drop dead gorgeous, really talented. They are like the most beautiful black couple ever. They put on this African stuff. And they know how to have the right look, and they take pictures on the cover of Essence magazine. Everybody fell in love for good reason because they just looked like they were just like the prettiest black couple ever. But now that couple doesn't exist. That marriage is dead. Right? It died, right? Because a lot of times I think sometimes if you're not careful, society will trick you into focusing on the surface instead of really thinking about the substance of a thing. Right? They will get you so focused on the beauty of the external beauty of getting married, and you don't get exposed to the real challenge, heavy challenge of staying married and what it's like to really run that marathon, right? You run a marathon. I got a picture on my wall of me finishing my marathon in 2019. There's the medal. I'm sitting there with my wife. We're smiling. There's a picture of me running, and I got a smile on my face, and I'm doing the thumbs up. Like you would think it was just a wonderful day, but that day was hell. That was the helliest hell ever. I'm not doing that no more. That was hard. Right? That was really hard. And so, really, I think when you look online, for example, and you look at family and marriage as an investment, as an asset, which it is actually. All the studies show that married people are more financially secure than unmarried people, that strong families are more financially secure than unstable families. That's why they have the single loneliness epidemic right now. They want you to be single and lonely and isolated because you become better food for the capitalist machine, right? That single person who's struggling, can't pay the bills, who's deep in debt, and has to go to work every day. They are a much better economic rat for the rat race, right? They're the best hamster to put on the wheel because they're always running, they're always trying, always trying. All right, the person that they don't like is the person who says, "Hey, I'm a black woman, I want to get along with a black man, and I'm going to make sacrifices to keep this family together." Or the black man who says, I could go chasing a whole bunch of women, but I'm going to pick one good one and have some kids so that the kids can help out eventually, and we can all kind of help each other out and protect each other and really learn how to build a family where I'm going to pay as much attention to what it takes to maintain a family as I spend to paying attention to what it takes to get a good job. We put so much more energy into learning how to get a job and keep a job than we put into learning how to build a family and keep a family. That's one of the reasons why families fall apart, but your corporations are doing well. Corporations' profits have hit record levels. The stock market has had, I think the NASDAQ has had, what, 6 or 8 weeks of straight rate rises in terms of increases, 6 or 7 straight weeks of record highs, largely because corporations are doing very well because they're very good at keeping people lonely and isolated and separated. So everybody has to go to work because they never ever, when they talk about how many people are struggling financially, they never bring relationships into the equation. It's always a single person explaining why it's so hard to pay your bills as a single person. Well, sometimes it might be because you're doing two jobs by yourself, right? Maybe part of it could be because you passed over a whole bunch of potential partners who could be great teammates and great co-owners of this business you have called life and family. But yet, for whatever reason, you're trained to just look at how cute they are or how it feels emotionally. And I'm not judging. I'm just saying that this is what it is, right? I put up with stuff. Sometimes my wife gets on my nerves. I love her. Don't tell her this, but sometimes she gets on my nerves. Sometimes I get on her nerves. And I really think, and the reason I think it's good though that we can kind of overcome a lot of that for now. Again, ain't no couple perfect, so never believe that. But the reason I'm patient, I can't speak for her. I don't know why she puts up with me, but the reason I'm patient on the rough days is because I say, my life is better when I have a good teammate than it is when I don't. I mean, my wife is as gorgeous to me as ever. She's the prettiest woman I ever met, but she's a workhorse. She's hardworking. She's super qualified and competent. When I sit down and say, "Let's make a plan, baby," she says, "What we gonna do? Let's get it done," and she will show up. If I say, "Hey, let's work on this, this, and this," and get it done by Friday, she will have it done by Friday. That's one of her strengths. And so on the tough days, I might say, "Well, you know." Maybe there's like some fun out there that people can have. I mean, I have some money and stuff, so I guess there are single guys that are having a lot of fun, and I don't judge it. But it's like, yeah, but I got a good teammate, and that's one of the thing about black women I would encourage men to understand is that solid black women, and I'm sorry, forgive me, people get mad at me, but I don't believe everybody's a queen or everybody's a king. Everybody calls everyone a queen or a king. I think everyone has queen or king potential, but I think you have to kind of earn what it means to be a queen, what it means to be a king. That's just my 2 cents. So I don't look at every black woman, every black man's the same. I think that there's some people who go a little bit further, who work a little bit harder, who have put in a little bit more work to be their absolute best. And I think those people deserve to be acknowledged and rewarded. So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a person who would look at a Cardi B kind of person. No disrespect to them. I understand there's trauma that caused her to want to be a stripper and all this. I don't look at that the same as I look at the black woman who could have been a stripper but chose to be, I don't know, a therapist instead, right? Right? She could have went and rapped about her WAP. If you know what WAP is, you don't worry about it. Just look it up. But she didn't. She's got a WAP too, but her WAP is private. It's for her man. It's not for the whole public to know about. And then also, she could have taken the easy route to get money, but she didn't. She worked hard. She built something. She chose to be something, and I don't know if we value that as much, because what I have found is that black women, as much as they go through and as much trauma as they experience, that one side effect is that a real good solid black woman can be like a tremendous asset for you. But it's a unique experience. You have to kind of know how, you have to have a certain amount of patience and a certain amount of understanding and a certain amount of commitment. Right? Like a good partnership. Just a little secret. If you ever form like a partnership in business or in life, you have to decide in the beginning, how much am I willing to sacrifice for this partnership to work, right? That's really it. Like if you go into any partnership, we did a partnership with Dr. Ken Harris for the All Black National Convention, and he's great. He has a PhD in economics from Michigan State University. He runs the National Business League, started by Booker T. Washington. He's a very good friend of mine, very smart guy. And anyway, Ken, when we did the partnership, there were times where I was frustrated, he was frustrated, but I just told him, I said, I want to make this work. This is going to work, and I don't care what it takes. It's going to work. I know I'm going to have to make some compromises, but it's okay. I want this to work. So I would encourage you, when you form any kind of a partnership in business or in relationships or anything, because it's all kind of the same. Like I can break out down a bunch of economic theories about the partnership of marriage and compare it exactly to a business. You have to decide in the beginning how much you're willing to invest to make it work, but also you have to do the due diligence. That's where people lose out. They don't investigate. Before you invest, you must investigate. So when you invest in a partner, you got to investigate, okay, what's it really going to be like? What am I really going to have to give up in order to make this work? What things can possibly happen that might require me to have to sacrifice more than I anticipate? Because you will have to sacrifice more than you anticipate in almost any long-term meaningful partnership. And if you don't investigate, do your due diligence. Like, so for example, I see men that will pick a woman just because of what she looks like. And then you find out there's a whole barrel of baggage that you have to deal with that you didn't anticipate because all you saw was how pretty she was. That's where people end up really being stressed out. One example that happened in corporate America was, I was listening to an analysis of the merger from AOL Time Warner. Anybody remember when AOL and Time Warner merged back in the day? And at the time, do y'all remember that? It was back in the beginning of the dot-com boom, and AOL stock price had just skyrocketed. It went from like $2 to like 40 something dollars, and so a lot of people made a lot of money. If you'd invested like $10,000 in AOL, you would have been a multimillionaire, right? Well, the problem was that so they had all this value, and it was all temporary because all that went away. 90, and this is why you got to be careful with the stock market. The stock market can break your heart and hurt your feelings. It can drop 80, 90% on you. So just be thoughtful and mindful, because there are experts who are predicting that the market could crash. It's going to crash at some point. We just don't know when. So anyway, with AOL, they merged with Time Warner. Their cultures were completely different. AOL was this company that was like run by the dot-com bros, and it had been around just a few years, and they just have this wild, crazy culture. Time Warner was more old school. They had real assets. They didn't just have a stock price that was temporarily high. They actually had bought, the buildings and the equipment and everything else. So AOL wanted to merge with Time Warner so they could give some more substance to their value. It wasn't just internet hype. And Time Warner wanted to merge with AOL because they felt like, okay, being down with the internet is going to make us cool again and give us that opportunity to reestablish growth in our organization. Well, that merger was a disaster from the very beginning. It took less than 6 months for them to realize, like, whoa, wait a minute, we need to break up. This relationship ain't working. I should not be dating you. I shouldn't be married to you. I shouldn't even be in the same room with you. And it ended up being one of the most, not just the most expensive merger ever, but the most costly merger ever. So it was the largest corporate merger of its time, or ever at the time, and it had the biggest quarterly loss of any business in American history. They lost $99 billion in one quarter, not in a year. In one quarter, they lost $99 billion with a B. Can you imagine that, losing $99 billion in one quarter? That's how much they lost because they did not do the due diligence. They were too excited about the possibility and they didn't think about the downside. They did not do a thorough analysis. And because they looked back and they said, well, wait a minute, you sat there, the CEOs got excited. Think about this. I want you to think about how many times you've seen people start a business with somebody because they just get excited. Oh, yeah, we can do this. We can open a bakery and you can make the cupcakes and I'll sell them and da da da. We're going to make them. You got to take your time. You got to back up and say, okay, before I invest, I must investigate. That requires you to take time. You have to be conscious. Even at the big corporate level, you would think that the big white, the rich white boys would, we're doing this. No, they got too pumped up. They told their lawyers and told their team, we're going to do this merger. You got 3 days to think about it. They didn't even tell the board. The board found out on the radio that the merger was happening because the CEOs were so gung ho, and it ended up costing $99 billion, and it ended up just really ruining Time Warner for the next 20 years. It took them years to overcome all the money they lost from that merger. So I want you to think about this like a bad marriage, which is also like a bad merger. I want you to think about how many times you've seen people, meet somebody, they think they're cute. Next thing you know, they're having sex. The dopamine spikes. So suddenly, you're not seeing any red flags because you're high. You're on another planet because you're so enamored with this person, and it usually happens in the first 6 to 9 months. And then 8, 9 months in, suddenly they're talking about all the red flags that they couldn't see in the beginning because maybe they moved a little bit too fast. And they didn't take a step back and think it through. It's just sort of like you dove in because that's what we do as a society. We're trained to just dive into stuff. And then next thing somebody's on the internet saying, let me tell you what this person did to me. And it's like, well, we knew that guy was a creep when you met him, but you didn't listen to us because you thought you were trying to tell us he was Mr. Wonderful, but you couldn't see that, right? Because this is how the biology works. This is the stuff I remember studying when I wrote Financial Lovemaking years ago at Syracuse. I was like, wow, love is such a tricky thing. We get tricked out of our possibility, our potential, our wealth. Because love just sneaks in. It's just you can't hide from it. You can't outsmart God and Mother Nature. And so you have to kind of find some way to manage that because a lot gets lost that way. If you ever want to lose a lot of money, go marry the wrong person. Or they'll bleed you dry. They won't just steal the money. They'll steal all the things more valuable than money. They'll steal your soul, right? So that's literally, I think that the financial education for your kids has to include education about all things related to anything even remotely touching the finances, right? This is why wealthy people, for a lot of wealthy families, you can't just bring home anybody and be like, I'm in love with Tyrone, and he gonna get part of my inheritance. The daddy's gonna be like, "Oh, the hell he will? He ain't getting my money. Nope. If you marry that person, you marry that woman, I'm taking you out of the will." That's what some families do. Warren Buffett, he's disowned several of his grandkids. Now I'm not saying you should do that. That's extreme. But he's literally been like, "No, I worked hard for this money. You are not going to trick away my money on emotional, irrational decision making." Right? You have to find a process to break away from that. If you don't, then you're gonna get sucked into the okie doke every single time, every single time. Right. So anyway, let's finish up. I was gonna actually talk about different majors. Actually, I should probably do this because I see this is what I do sometimes. I'll go into something and I'll just start talking about something else, and then I'll realize I didn't get to the thing I wanted to talk about the most. So I made a list on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance, and I made a list of the college majors that will tend to leave you broke based on the stats. And I'm going to read off the list, and actually I'll just share my screen so you can see it. And that way, for those of you that came in just looking for that, I want to deliver what I promise. I just sometimes that happens. It's ADHD. You can't blame me. Don't get mad at disabled people for being disabled because that will make you like almost like a racist, except racist against you bias against disabled people. All right. So anyway, here we go. All right. So here are the majors that will leave you broke in college. One is theology and religion. Number two is performing arts. Three is fine arts. That's not good in terms of money. I'm not saying these are bad majors or bad things to know. These are just things that are not going to make a lot of money if you're looking for a job. Liberal arts and general studies. No, when are you studying to be a general? Like, why are you taking general studies? Anthropology, that doesn't do well. Sociology and social work, social services. But social work is very important. I got a wife who's a social worker, so but she happened to be married. She married guys that had she's been married twice. I'm her number two, and both of her husbands knew how to make money, so she didn't have to make money. So I guess if you become a social worker, marry a rich dude. But at the same time, though, she actually she became rich. Before she married me, and the way my wife became rich was she maxed out her 401k. She never took a finance class. Finances bore her, but her father, who's a great man, Dr. Francis Taylor at at Tuskegee University, he told her when you get a job, max out your 401k. So she did what her dad told her to do, and because of that, she had a lot of money in her 401k when we got together. And by the way, actually, my wife's lineage is really interesting. She they have I think three or four generations from the University of Chicago. Her father, her grandfather, and her great grandfather all went to the University of Chicago. Also, I think her great grandfather was one of the original Omega Psi Phi members. Like all the Q dogs have to remember Francis Taylor's name before they can become Qs. So this it's a real interesting legacy. I don't have all that. I don't even know. I don't know nothing about who I heard random stories though. I did find a story about a great great grandfather I had that was lynched in Alabama because he spoke up to a white man. And I do know I had another great great grandparent who literally owned an entire town, who was like an extraordinary entrepreneur, and then white people killed him and took all his stuff. So this is the history, right? This is America, right? So these are the things we have to fight against. This is why reparations, I think, are old and due 100%. Last one is family and consumer sciences, early childhood education. That doesn't pay much, and that's unfortunate because early childhood education, there's rarely a job more important than that, right? So, I mean, the people that take care of our children, that's literally one of the most important jobs in society. So it's unfortunate that capitalism does not reward that. So what I would say to you is not that you can't study these things, all right? So don't tell your kids like don't do that because you're going to be broke. That you're limiting them. That's not fair. Instead, what you let them know is you say, hey, this is a great major. You're going to learn a lot, but this is not going to be how you make your money. This is not where you just what you major in. This is so important. People don't dissect it. Why is it that what you study in college has to be your primary source of money? It doesn't have to be. That, in fact, it's probably not even the best way to make money. All the studies show that jobs are not the best way to make money anyway. There are three ways to make money in America. Master these three things: stock market investing, real estate investing, entrepreneurship. The three pillars of wealth. That's where the money's at anyway. So it's perfectly fine. Our daughter's a dancer, and I said it's perfectly fine for you. She's like, well, I can't major in dance because dancers don't make any money. I'm like, yeah, but why are you trying to make your money as a dancer? You don't dance for the money. You dance because you love it. But then let's figure out how you're going to make your money because you need money to live. So it's perfectly fine to go to college, major in dancing, be a dancer, and then say, yeah, but when I need money, I turn to my stock market investments. I go in my Robinhood account and I sell some stock options and I put $3,000 in my bank account. Or when I need money, my renters, I'm a landlord and the people pay their rent and I pay my bills with that, right? It's okay to have a differentiation and a specialization in how you get certain things done. This is one of the biggest things about capitalism. This is the thing that I need you to write down and remember and share this with your kids and grandkids is that the biggest flaw of capitalism is that it steals thousands of hours of your life. It steals your purpose. It steals your purpose. Your purpose was not to go to work every day and pay bills. That's not why God put you on this earth. You have some other things that drive you, things that give you passion, things that fulfill you, things that make you feel alive. And so sometimes the thing that fills you up may not be the thing that fills up your bank account. Do you understand what I'm saying? So your spirit is full, but your bank account is empty. Well, how do I solve both problems? You got to solve both. You got to pay attention to both. This is where I have this unique ability to piss off both the capitalists and the Marxists at the same time. The Marxists is on the left, and they say capitalism is bad and money is bad and business owners are evil. And then the capitalist is like, it's money, money, money. Money's everything. You got to do everything. Money. I can't. I offend both of them because I thought deeply about these things. And the reality is that you can create that reality, but you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan. The biggest loss for the kids is that don't nobody make a plan for them. I don't understand. It makes no sense for a parent to spend more energy figuring out how your child's going to get to football practice than you spend figuring out how they're going to be ready to play the game of competitive economics. That doesn't make no sense. So your child is 25 years old. He can throw a football really well, but he don't know how to pay his bills. And you lost. Mistake. So here's the deal. Here's what I told her. Simple plan. I said, go to college, major whatever you want. But I need you to sit down with me so I can show you how to solve the $5,000 problem. She said, well, what's the $5,000 problem? I said, well, the $5,000 problem is that most people sell their freedom because they can't even just get $5,000 in their bank account without going to work every day. I said, for most people, if they could find a way to make $5,000 without working, without selling their soul, without having to go to the corporate plantation every day, they would probably do something different. But most people can't even solve that. Why can't you solve the $5,000 problem? Well, it's not because it's a hard problem. Mathematically, it's very easy to solve it if you add the ingredient of time and preparation. If you prepare, everything's easy. If some the five this is where the 5-year pledge comes into play. 5-year pledge. My car note's $500. I love my child more than I love my car, so when I pay my $500 car note, I'm gonna put $500 into an S&P 500 index fund for my child, so they're not economically desperate. By the time my child is 5, we've got $35,000. By the time they're 10, we got 100,000. By the time they're 20, we got over 300,000, at least $250,000. Problem solved. $5,000 problem is solved. Those of you who know stock options know that if you have a portfolio on $200,000, you can make $10,000 a month pretty easily. Not hard to do. Most people can't do it because they don't have the assets. Assets and collateral is how people make money. Collateral is more important than a credit score. People use credit scores because they don't have collateral. Rich people like Elon Musk, they use collateral. They don't know. Elon probably doesn't even know what his credit score is. So, um, you prepare the kids. You don't just feed them and prepare them educationally and keep them out the street. What you also do is you help them solve the $5,000 problem by investing consistently for them. And then when they get older, they say, yeah, I could make money from a job, but the amount I'm going to make from the job is here. The amount I make from my investments is here. So I'm not going to pick a job for the money because the money ain't important to me anymore. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Do you get what I'm saying when I explain to you? This is what black privilege feels like. This is what I'll use myself as an example. So I don't know. Have I told you? I should probably make it a big announcement, but I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna just tell you now. Next fall, I'm gonna go and do a visiting professor position at Morehouse College. I think I might have mentioned that to you. All right. And it's because my friend is an associate dean, Dr. Venetia Dutra, and she said we need a black male PhD here. And I said, well, you can't find anybody else. She said, well, no, because there aren't that many black males that have PhDs. So I thought I'd just throw it at you. And I said, yeah, I love Morehouse. I said, I'll do that. I would do that. There's only really 3 schools I probably teach at: Morehouse, Tuskegee, or Howard, maybe Howard. I don't know, but Howard kind of hurt my feelings a few years ago. They did something pretty crazy. But I'm not going to talk bad about them because I love them. So I'm going to this job, right? And I was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be fun. I look forward to interacting with young black males because I think that we have to really, I really believe strongly that to solve the black family economic problem, you've got to build a different kind of black male. You've got to build black men who understand what wealth looks like and what true power looks like. And true power is something that isn't easily taken away. It's not something that someone can just wipe away by changing a law or taking away your job. It's something that's harder for someone to take away. And so that's what they're going to get. They're going to get a lot of that. They're going to get some Boyce Watkins in there for sure. But here's the thing. So we start talking about money and for the job, and she's like, "Well, how much money do you want or to do it?" I said, "I don't care. I don't know. How much is it?" And she told me, and I was like, "Okay." And I didn't care. She could have been like, well, to sweeten the deal, we're going to add an extra 2% or 5%. I'd have been like, I don't care. Or we just found out we got to cut it in half. I was like, I don't care. I'm not going to Morehouse for the money. I don't. 25 years ago, I would have probably the money would have mattered, but now it's like no. I want to. I want to talk to young black males. Like I want to give them some black privilege. I want to get them ready for the world. This is exciting for me. That's what I was thinking about. I wasn't. The money wasn't even. a variable. I'm not gonna do things. I don't do jobs for the money. I don't do anything for the money. Right? And what I really want is to me, that's black privilege. Yes, I'm a privileged black man, and I'm happy about that. It took me a lot of years to build some black privilege, but here's the thing. Here's the win though. One thing that I also know, because I know the formulas behind economics, is that we can mass produce black privilege for every black child who has family members that love him. Every black baby born in America can have black privilege, but the reason we don't see it is because we're so busy worried about white privilege. We always make the assumption that white people are better off than us, and I think that is wrong. They are not always unconditionally better off than you. And when you focus all your energy on what somebody else got, then you don't see what you have right in your backyard. So black privilege to me, one aspect of it, there's lots of aspects to it, but one aspect of black privilege is that a properly raised black child in America should get to the age of 20 or 25 and be able to pick a job based on their purpose and not just based on how much money they're going to get. If they don't like that job, they should not be there. If it's disrupting their mental health, get them the hell up out of there. If they're dealing with racism, they shouldn't be in that building. If they go to work depressed every day, no, your mental health and your physical health is too important. We're not gonna let you die so you can make an extra $3,000 a year. That's not happening here, partner, because we're operating on a different frequency. The black privilege frequency is where somebody laid a bed of security for you, somebody gave a damn about you, and they were conscious enough to be able to project 20 years in the future when this child is going to need money, they're going to need security, they're going to need to have a place to go, they're going to need to have options, and they said, don't worry, son, I got you, don't worry, baby, I got you. That to me, that's what black privilege looks like. And then when they're 25 and they're like, yeah, I've got $250,000 in my portfolio, and someone comes along and says, we'd like to offer you a black job, they can say, no, I don't, thank you, but no, thank you. I'm not interested in that because I got better things to do with my life. My life is short. We're going to get old. We're going to die one day. I cannot spend the majority of that precious time with you doing a bunch of shit that don't even add up to nothing, sit around making you rich, doing stuff that I wouldn't even do ever. I literally said this. This is going to sound like the most bougie shit ever. I literally said to one of our kids the other day, she was talking about what career she wanted. I said, I said, I would ask yourself this question. I said, if you're thinking about picking a job, ask yourself, would you do that job if you were not getting paid at all? If you had to work for free, would you do that job? If you were making a minimum wage, would you do that job? And she said, no. I said, well, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I think that's part of your answer right there. Because who in the hell told you, other than the people that worship the God of capitalism, who in the hell told you that you should alter your whole life, disrupt everything about your spirit, your being, distract yourself from your purpose, just so you can make a little bit of extra money? The reason you have to do that, I understand. The reason you have to do that is out of financial desperation, and the financial desperation comes from a lack of preparation. And preparation mass produces black privilege. Black privilege ain't nothing but mass preparation. All investing is preparation. Investing is simply saying, I'm going to sacrifice something now so that my future self can have a little bit more. And then the higher level of that is I'm going to sacrifice a little bit now so the people I love have more in the future. So investing is all about preparation. It's all about love. It's all about consciousness. It's all about sort of creating the world that you want to live in so that you're not a product of your environment. Your environment should be a product of you. But the reason some people might think I sound crazy talking like that as a black man is because they don't understand what black power is supposed to look like. Power creates its own reality. So if you think that what I'm saying is crazy, then don't talk to me about black power because you don't know nothing about what power is. The only type of power you know is borrowed power. You know proximity to power. Well, because I work for the most important white man in the city, that makes me important by default. No, it doesn't. Oh, because the white guy I work for is very powerful, that makes me powerful too. No, you're powerful until he decides that he don't need you no more. Black power creates its own reality. You are not a product of your environment. Your environment should be a product of you. So the environment that your children operate in at the age of 25 should be a direct result of everything that was done in the 25 years preceding on their behalf to make sure that they're ready for the world. Because the world is a hard place when you are unprepared. In fact, when you are unprepared for capitalism, it becomes an absolute nightmare. It becomes the greatest abuser that you've ever met in your life. Capitalism, when you show up weak and empty-handed, turns into nothing but a big old pimp. I'm going to stop now. We've been going for an hour and 15 minutes. I hope this conversation was beneficial to you. I hope you gained something. Feel free to share this video with anybody in your family if you think they can gain something from this. Before I go, I want to give you guys something that I created as a reward for those of you that come to class all the time. I know some of you are big, big champions of money in the morning. And those of you who aren't on the text list, just text the word morning to the number 87948. I'll send you a notification when we go live. So I'm gonna show you guys something I created just for fun. I created something called Dr. Boyce Economic Trivia, and basically, the Black Economic Trivia is based on money in the morning. So I know some of y'all are just like are just as crazy and determined as me, and you're here every day. And so here's the link if you want to play it and you get a score. So let me just show you. So if you click on that link, and I'll text it out to you. So make sure you get on the text list. Text the word morning to the phone number 87948, and I'll send it to you. So basically, to ask you questions, and you can decide how many questions you want to answer, 10, 20, or 50. And then there's a leaderboard. And so here's the leaderboard. Right now, the leader is Shantae. I don't know Shantae's last name, but Shantae's the leader. She got the highest score. Candace Henderson's number two. Ellis Smoot is number three. Eric Brooks is number four. LaShonda Cooley and Lewis are next, and you see the other names here. So yeah, so basically what happens is that when you start the game, it starts asking you questions like, what does Dr. Boyce suggest if a man cannot answer questions about his future in a minute or so? A, he may not have seriously thought about it or thought it through. B, he is definitely successful. C, he should be trusted automatically. D, he is probably a professional athlete. And the answer is A, he may not have thought it through seriously. So one thing I always say when we're talking about sort of partnering with people that have a future is if you ask somebody like, okay, what do you plan to do in the next 10 years, and they just can't answer the question, that means they haven't thought about it. So that's a red flag. And then the next question is, let's see, which famous company did Boyce describe as super safe and prestigious? A, Lloyd's of London. B, Amazon. C, Ford Motor Company. D, Netflix. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Lloyd's of London. I think I told a story about Lloyd's. Let's see if I get this right. Yep. Okay, there we go. It's Lloyd's of London. So next question, right? So let's see. Which other artist is mentioned in the conversation about Kings? So when I talked about Kings, I talked about Lil Wayne, 50 Cent, Kendrick Lamar, or Busta Rhymes. I'm gonna guess 50 Cent, but let's assume I can't that I don't remember because I should do well on this. I mean, I know Boyce pretty well, but then again, he's half crazy, so I can't take responsibility for everything he says. But here, let's say I hit Lil Wayne, so it'll give you the wrong answer. It'll tell you that it was actually 50 Cent. So sometimes the questions will be economic, but sometimes they'll just be questions related to random stuff. So that's the data that was trained on was all the conversations from Money in the Morning. So basically once a month we'll look at the leaderboard, and then the top five people we'll have you email support, and we'll give you a free gift as just kind of an acknowledgement of your dedication to learning Black economics. So anyway, I put the link in the chat. I'll put the link in here again for those of you that want to go in there and play. And those who don't have it, just make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to the number 87948. And also, we're keeping attendance. And I'm also going to have like a perfect attendance roll. So we'll give you a reward for that too, because I know some of you come in every single morning. And I just want to make sure we acknowledge you. All right. So anyway, have a good day, everybody. God bless you. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.